The other day, a video from James Corden popped into my feed. It was a response to Bill Maher because of the comments he made saying that we should bring back fat shaming.
Bill Maher sat at a host desk like this one. He looked into the camera like I'm doing now, and he talked on his show about fat shaming. He argued that it had gone away and needed to make a comeback. While
watching Corden's video, it initially felt like a level-headed response toward someone who's being a jerk.
Where fat is good, it's pointing out that fat is unhealthy. That's what's bad. Fat shaming doesn't need to end, it needs to make a comeback. Some amount of shame is good.
Thanks for that, Bill.
I decided to check out the Bill Maher video, and it's pretty clear that James Corden used a lot of selective editing to make a point.
In August, 53 Americans died from mass shootings. Terrible, right? You know how many died from obesity? 40,000. Fat shaming doesn't need to end, it needs to make a comeback.
Watching Bill Maher's video, the main point was a political statement that it's not reasonable for people hurting themselves to demand free healthcare.
New rule at next Thursday's debate, one of the candidates has to say, the problem with our healthcare system is Americans eat shit, and too much of it.
Most of the video was focused on calling for people to take responsibility for themselves than it had to do with fat shaming.
All the candidates will talk about their health plans, but no one will mention the key factor. The citizens don't lift a finger to help.
He did make a lot of jokes throughout, but I don't see any difference between his jokes and the self-deprecating ones James Corden made.
Any fat person, we are reminded of it all the time, on airplanes, on Instagram, when someone leaves a pie on the windowsill to cool and they give us a look like... But
100 years ago, this guy was fat enough to be the fat man in the circus. Now, he's a guy.
I think both men made points that align with the other. We shouldn't taunt people, but people need to take responsibility for themselves.
I know this is a controversial thing to say now in today's America, but being fat is a bad thing. We shouldn't taunt people about it, and overeating shouldn't be singled out as the only vice. It's not. We all have something. But there's no smoking acceptance or drunk acceptance. When I drank too much, yeah, sometimes someone would say to me, you know, that's not great for your health, Bill.
This is a health problem. It's an issue that needs to be discussed clearly and honestly. It's an epidemic, and when you look at the numbers, it's terrifying. There are numerous reasons why people live their lives at an unhealthy weight. Junk food, portion control, a lack of exercise, these are all major contributing factors, but poverty is also an issue.
I don't think it's hateful for want them to take more responsibility for themselves.
Right, we get it, we know. We know that being overweight isn't good for us, and I've struggled my entire life trying to manage my weight, and I suck at it, right? I've had good days and bad months.
Even though weight can seem like a very personal choice, it can still hurt the people around you. The heavier you are, the sooner you're gonna die. The less you'll be able to contribute to society, the more assistance you're gonna need from others, and worst of all, it normalizes an unhealthy lifestyle for the next generation.
Beginning of it, there is literally nothing being overweight does not make worse. Eyesight, memory, pain, fatigue, depression. You don't poop right. It weakens your immune system. We scream at Congress to find a way to pay for our medical bills, but it wouldn't be nearly the issue it is if people just didn't eat like assholes.
How we respond to the obesity epidemic in America is a complicated issue. It might feel easier to look at things from an emotional perspective, but that doesn't make it an effective way to solve the problem. And so, while James Corden video made some decent points, I think he was just manipulating people to get views.
This is going to be a struggle that I will face for the rest of my life, right? But in the meantime, Bill, please hear me when I say this. While you're encouraging people to think about what goes into their mouths, just think a little harder about what comes out of yours. We'll be right back.